some snippets from the book, and end with the conclusion, a little bit of the conclusion for all of you. So, the more I've gotten into astrology, the more I find myself having to explain it to people I've just met. It almost always comes up on my first dates, mostly because I like making astrology a conversation topic so I can vibe check the person I'm sitting across from. If I'm trying to gauge how compatible I am with a potential new friend, I'll ask their sign and see how they respond. I've also gotten into the habit of guessing the sun sign of my servers when I go to a restaurant, which sparks a fun conversation whether or not I've guessed correctly, though more often than not I have. As I've become more comfortable bringing up astrology, I've learned that even skeptics are willing to have a conversation. There's a lot of curiosity surrounding the topic. Every time I have the chance to get on my astrology is so much more than a vague horoscope in a newspaper soapbox, I take it. This is how I explain astrology to skeptics. Most people associate the word astrology with their sun sign, also known colloquially as the zodiac sign. However, the sun sign barely scratches the surface of astrology. The only reason so many people know their sun sign is because the sun changes signs at a pace that is compatible with their Gregorian calendar. A birth chart shows the signs all the planets were in at the moment of birth, not just the sun. Each planet impacts us in different ways, but they all move at different speeds. Sun signs are the only aspect of astrology that has made it to the mainstream because sun sign dates are set in stone, more or less. They shift a bit year to year because the planet rotates 360 degrees and there are 365 days in a year. However, the moon, for example, switches signs every 2.5 days, and rising signs change about every 2 hours. So it's understandable that the complexities of a birth chart have led to astrology being reduced to nothing more than a sun sign and a general horoscope in a newspaper. By this point in the conversation, on a first date, the person I'm talking to has usually stopped listening. All of that is to say, when it comes to astrology, you really have to look at a person's entire birth chart. Now, I'm going to reduce all of us to sun signs a little bit here, even though I just said that was the greatest sin. And I am going to read the quick guides to these placements. So I want you to think about somebody that you know who has this sign. Maybe it's you, maybe it's a friend. We're going to start with Aries. So this is our quick guide to Aries placements. If someone in your life has Aries placements, do share the spotlight, or better yet, let them take center stage. Do laugh with them, not at them. Do follow their lead and embrace spontaneity. Don't try to force them into having emotional conversations. Don't expect them to handle every situation perfectly. Don't suppress or shame their childlike nature. Do we have any Aries in the house tonight? Okay, a few representing the Aries sign, all right? We're gonna move to Taurus, which is early April to May. Quick guide to Taurus placements. If someone in your life has Taurus placements, do respect their need for downtime, do engage their sensual side, do gently prod them when they're being too stuck in their ways, don't comment on how they manage their money, don't force them into social situations, don't try to convince them they're wrong. Do we have any Tauruses tonight?
I like it.
The Tauruses are all probably at home right now. Quick guide to Gemini placements. If someone in your life has Gemini placements, do listen to what they're saying, whether it's thoughtful or stream of consciousness. Do allow them to change their mind without making them feel bad about it. And do engage in banter. Geminis love wit. Don't try to silence or shrink them. Don't expect them to behave a certain way all the time. And don't wait for them to ask you a question if you have something that you want to share. Are there any Geminis? No. Okay. Interesting. Moving along to Cancer. If someone in your life has Cancer placements, do assure them that their thoughts and feelings are valid. Do prioritize quality time, including time with loved ones when possible. Do enjoy the little things with them. Don't mistake their kindness for weakness. Don't take their unconditional love for granted. And don't speak carelessly because they won't forget it. Any Cancers? No? Okay. There's a gaggle of you that have the same sign. Leo placements. If someone in your life has Leo placements, do goof around with them. Do be their biggest fan. And do remember that they are a natural leader. Don't criticize them or provide unsolicited feedback. Don't skip out on an event, whether it's a work party or an art show, they want you there. And don't take them too seriously. Any Leos? Just one. Ooh, one shiny, sparkly Leo. Okay. Virgo placements. If someone in your life has Virgo placements, do ask them for help. Then thank them for a job well done. Do honor their need for routine, and do defer to their eye for detail. Don't boss them around, because they will do the opposite, just to spite you. Don't change plans at the last minute, and don't deliberately disrupt the order they have established. Any Virgos here besides me? One in the back, yay!
But I know some Virgos, and that is so dead on.
Okay. Two of us. Libra. Quick guide to Libra placements. Do seek their expert advice as needed. Do ensure the relationship has an equitable give and take. Do respect their need for harmony. Don't treat them like your personal therapist. Don't force them to pick a side. And don't raise your voice when speaking to them. Any Libras? One in the front.
I'm not
Two.
sure.
When's your birthday?
October 23rd.
Oh, you are a Libra.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, two Libras. Okay.
Because the morning paper I was Libra, the evening paper I was Scorpio.
Yeah, it might depend on the year, but you're right on the edge there. I bet you're a Libra.
Yeah.
All right, Scorpio. If someone in your life has Scorpio placements, do hold space for their dark side. Do respect their privacy. Do prioritize honesty and loyalty. Don't lie, cheat, or hide things. Scorpio is a world-class investigator. Don't tell them what to do, and don't badmouth them or anyone they care about. Any Scorpios? No, they are also at home on this Wednesday evening. Okay, we got a couple left. Sagittarius. If someone in your life has Sagittarius placements, do support their need for exploration, do encourage their myriad of interests, and do appreciate their sense of humor. Don't threaten their independence. Don't expect them to adhere to social norms, time constraints, or schedules. And don't ask them for advice unless you're prepared to hear their honest, unfiltered opinion. Are you a Sagittarius? Okay! We got one Sagittarius. Woo.
But I have a lot of earth in my chart.
The best ones do. We got three left. Capricorn. If someone in your life has Capricorn placements, do call on their problem-solving skills as needed. Do be consistent and reliable. And do understand that they hold themselves to a certain standard. Don't pressure them to overshare. Don't stand in the way of their hopes, dreams, and plans. And don't expect them to be emotional or romantic. Any Capricorns? Okay. Aquarius. Someone in your life has Aquarius placements. Do embrace their individuality. Do support their hopes and dreams, no matter how realistic. And do seek their unique perspective. Don't pressure them to conform to what you perceive to be normal. Don't ask them to shrink any aspects of themselves. And don't rely on them as your sole source of emotional support. Do we have any Aquariuses? 3! Okay, that's the majority so far. And then we have Pisces. Sweet Pisces last. If someone in your life has Pisces placements, do respect their sensitive nature. Do serve as a constant source of support. Do initiate deep conversations. Don't contribute to their overwhelm. Don't pressure them to make up their mind. And don't minimize moments that they deem significant. Any Pisces? in the back, yay!
Alright.
Alright, and then a little bit from the conclusion here. When I started writing this book, I never dreamed it would be read by anyone but myself. I wrote the first few chapters just for me, for no other reason than that I thought it would be fun to think about all the ways astrology impacts our modern lives. As I continued to work on this book, it became so much more. Astrology was a hobby that has turned into a passion. It has revolutionized the way I see the world, and it fills me with a profound sense of hope. To believe in astrology is to believe in a cosmic order, a divine purpose. Unfortunately, the topic of astrology will probably always be met with skepticism and derision. It's hard for people to wrap their heads around the idea of planets and stars influencing us. But we do not question that the moon impacts our tides or that the sun's solar flares disturb radio communication on Earth. Even Jupiter and Saturn, which are over 500 million miles away, have such a strong gravitational pull that they warp Earth's orbit into a more elliptical shape. And yet, to some, the idea of the planets being able to impact our personalities is unbelievable. Thank you. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about how this book came to be before we move into questions. Got my notes on my phone, so don't mind me. So I've been interested in astrology since I was really young. Actually, this was one of my favorite books growing up. I dug it off my bookshelf. It is from 2005. It's called It's Happy Bunny, What's Your Sign? So for those of you that aren't familiar, Happy Bunny is this really sassy, kind of snarky cartoon rabbit. And I loved this book, even though there were about 3 pages in here that applied to me. I'll come back to this in a little bit because it actually did play a role in my own book, but just to give you like a taste of what this book is like, there's a little necklace on the front you can spin for your destiny. And this one says, "You'll be famous, but for something terrible a walrus does to you." And I just loved this when I was a kid, so we'll come back to this. So I've been interested in astrology for a really long time, but it was just something that I liked and didn't really engage with a whole lot. And then it became my COVID hobby. So some people started baking bread or had babies, and I learned how to read tarot cards, and I got really into astrology. And I had a lot of free time on my hands, as a lot of us did, and I started writing. It started, honestly, one day I was thinking about if we could only give gifts based off of sun signs alone, we would probably all be more satisfied with the gifts that we get given. And I started thinking about what would each sign actually want for a gift? Because there are signs that would love a book, and then there are also signs who might be like, okay, that's a great doorstop, but I will never ever touch that thing. So I started writing just for fun. And as I was writing, I was realizing how much I had to say. And so slowly, every day, I would return to this document on my computer, and I would add a little bit more. So then I started thinking about the sun signs as bosses, or partners, and slowly things started evolving. So I had about 3 months that I really just spent writing this in my free time. And then I started grad school, and I completely forgot about this project. By the time I had stopped writing, I had about 3 chapters written, 3.5-ish, and then I completely abandoned it, and honestly never thought that I would return to it. And then I had a dear friend who kind of bullied me into pursuing this. I had a friend who came up to me one day, and we were talking about astrology, and she said, "I really wish I knew more about it." I said, "If I ever finish my book, I'll let you read it, because you'll learn a lot." And my friend, the best friend, told you to a standard you want to meet, so every day after that would check in with me. How's your book coming along? Have you worked on your book? How much further did you get in your book? And it got to the point where hearing her ask about my book was the motivation for me to keep writing, because I was tired of saying, "Oh, I haven't touched it. Oh, I haven't touched it. Nothing's changed." So I returned to it in my free time, after work, after grad school, slowly, a little bit here, a little bit there. And then my friend started encouraging me to pitch it to Llewellyn, the publishing company where it's been published. And little known fact about Llewellyn is you only need to have 2 or 3 chapters written to pitch to the team. So I had technically enough to pitch this project. So one day I finally got all my documentation together and I pitched the project and I found out it was contracted, which is also always an amazing feeling. But then I realized after the high wore off that I had to finish writing it, and then that didn't feel quite as great. So I gave myself a pretty intense timeline because I knew I didn't want to delay getting this out into the world, and it was about August at this point, about 2 years ago. And I decided I was going to get this thing written by the end of the year. So about 4 months to write 8-ish chapters of this 12-chapter book. And I genuinely couldn't tell you how I did it. It's like a blur to me, but I would come home from work and I would finish what I needed to do around the house, and then I would write. And I had sections out, which ones I needed to do per day, which was very Virgo of me. I knew exactly what I was writing each day. If I got a little behind, I'd catch up on the weekend. And somehow I got this thing pieced together exactly on time. Actually, a couple days early, which was a miracle. So this book really was a labor of love. And as a writer my whole life, I have never had an easy time coming up with a lot of material. I have a minor in creative writing, and it is a slog to get writing usually for me. But this just flew out of me. I mean, the fact that most of it was written in a couple months is insane. So, finally, submitted the final manuscript, and then the title was decided on. And I had shared that the book was inspired by Happy Bunny, and that was how the title was decided upon. So you can see here we have It's Happy Bunny, and the title of my book is It's All About Astrology. That's the link here. I actually had a section about Happy Bunny at the beginning of the book, which was eventually removed. The original title of the book was It's All About Astrology, ... deal with it. But that felt a little too sassy for me, personally. So I cut it back to just It's All About Astrology. Advice you didn't know you needed. There's a little known fact for you. But yes, inspired by this book that I read 20 years ago that has made such a lasting impression on me that it is still on my bookshelf. And now we have this beautiful book in the world. The design is gorgeous. It's everything that I could have asked for. And so this has truly been just the most happy accident for this to exist, because that was never the plan. And it just kind of ended up here. So it's out in the world. It's been out for a couple months. It's especially poppin' in my hometown because my mom, I swear, is responsible for like a third of the purchases. She has a box of my books in her trunk, and she sells them to her friends after church. So it is very popular in a very small town in southern Minnesota for that reason. But my favorite part of having this book out in the world is hearing from people that aren't really interested in astrology that they connected with something in here. That is the best feedback I could possibly get. And so my hope for all of you is that there are some takeaways in here that resonate with you as well, because those moments are really the things that make me believe in the grand scheme of life, and that is a beautiful thing, especially today when we all need hope more than ever. So thank you for coming. Make sure to buy something and donate to the Prison Book Project. And I've got time for questions if you want to ask me about writing or publishing or astrology, anything that might be on your mind.
So, go ahead. So, is anybody in your family astrologically minded, or?
No. Nobody in my family.
So where did you get the book?
I honestly don't remember where I picked this up. Probably at like a Scholastic book fair or something. Because it's a Scholastic title.
Like it's from school, maybe?
Yeah. And I keep all of my favorite books from childhood on a shelf in my closet because they just make me nostalgic.
Yeah.
And so I was looking for this the other day and it was right there. I'm like, maybe I didn't actually hold on to it for 20 years, but I have. So it's vintage at this
Oh,
point.
wow, yeah.
Yes.
I have a question about pets.
Okay.
Have you noticed if sun sign, moon sign, does it present in pets in the same way that it does in people?
That's a really
Or
good
if
question.
there's different sort of ways that they manifest?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I can base it off the 3 pets I've had that I knew their birthdays, and absolutely they are all super different and align exactly how I would expect them to. So I had a Cancer cat who was the most cuddly, affectionate cat I've ever had in my life, Cancer is the nurturing, motherly sign of the zodiac. And she was a Velcro cat, like always on me. And that was just so Cancerian of her. But most cats specifically have the same sign because you think about litters of kittens are often born in the spring. So there isn't that much zodiac variation amongst cats specifically. Then I also have an Aries cat and a Taurus cat. My Aries cat gives me hell every day. That is very on brand. And then my Taurus cat wants to be left alone and she wants to be pet on her schedule. And that is also very Taurus. She is stubborn and she likes it her way. So I would say in my experience, yes. But a lot of us don't actually know our pets' birthdays. So if you do, that can be a really handy cheat sheet when you're at the shelter.
I have July 12th.
A July
Yes.
cat.
No. It's baseball, sorry.
Oh.
We adopted him.
July, okay.
Yeah.
So he's a Taurus.
Yes.
May 12th, just like mine. Does he like to be pet on his own terms?
Yes, he's not particularly.
Yeah. That tracks. Mhm. I'd be curious though about dogs. I'm not a dog person, so I don't know much about like the signs. Yes?
I mean, I do know, like, childhood dog's birthday.
Do you really?
Yeah, November 1st.
Scorpio dog?
Is it a movie dog? No, not particularly.
Was it did the dog hold a grudge?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Like the kind of dog that sees like a UPS truck and growls like years later, that kind of grudge holding. Interesting. Yeah, that would be a great second book. It's just like pet astrology. It probably already exists, but maybe I could take a fresh stab at it.
Yeah, that's the problem with rescues, so I
Yeah.
just don't know.
You don't know.
That's
You could devise a formula for figuring it out by a checklist of traits that you could sort of work backwards to determine it.
That is one idea,
I might try it.
for sure. Yes.
So can you just explain a little bit more about, because if you know your sign, but then when people say, oh, but I'm this rising and this, and what is all, how does that all factor into your personality?
Yeah, so a birth chart is like a big wheel with 12 sections, and our sun is going to be in one of those 12 sections when we're born. That's really what most people are familiar with, is that specific placement. But when we look at the bigger chart, we see a lot of other things that are going on. They're kind of overwhelming if you don't know what you're looking at, because there's a lot of lines and colors. So other planets that influence a person are the ones we hear colloquially in society. We've got the moon. The moon is emotion and how you process things and how you regulate yourself. Water moons are more tearful, fire moons are more rageful, that sort of thing. The rising sign is often how we appear to other people. It's the sign that was on the horizon at the moment of our birth. So that's what changes every 2 hours. So the rising sign, a lot of folks don't actually know off the top of their head unless they have their birth time down to the T. But if that's off, if that's the start of the chart, the first house, if that's wrong, the whole chart's wrong. So the sign that the planet is in might be correct still, but the placement in those 12 sections is going to be skewed. So that's why it's really important to know your rising sign.
And that ties into what time you're born.
Yes, and that is dependent on what time you were born. And then my book also has Mercury, which is the planet of communication, and kind of how you communicate, like communication, how you feel about like social media usage, that's Mercury. Venus is love and romance, and then Mars is sex and passion and chaos. So that's what I covered in here. There's a couple other planets that are outer planets that I didn't cover in the book. They move a lot slower. But those are the ones that I really like to read up on, and those are the ones that have helped me with the most of my own self-development. So the other ones that move slower are more like generationally influential, which is still important, but maybe not quite as like personal self-development focused, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
In terms of the time you were born, in my story, I was supposed to be, I was going to appear to be born at 6 a.m.
time that you were born. I mean, people that are astrologers believe that the time you were born is the time you were supposed to be born. So if you were scheduled on, let's say you were due August 12th and your mom had a cesarean on August 9th, astrologers say that is the time that you were meant to be coming onto this planet, and that is what your chart is based off of. So I would say the 6 p.m., the moment that you were born, would be the one. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it was in, ancient history.
I bet
That wouldn't
those
happen.
those 12 hours for your poor mother must have been
No,
horrible.
she was not that.
Oh.
She does not remember.
Oh,
all that.
wow. Wow. Good question.
The nurse held me in for a half hour until the doctor got there.
Really?
We're another generation.
Yeah.
These things
Yeah,
happen.
back then,
Whoa. That's interesting. It's interesting too how many people of older generations don't know what time they were born. It's just not on a birth certificate. I don't know if that's the case for the three of you, but my dad's, it's not on his birth certificate what time he was born at all. So there's really no way to know what his birth chart looks like.
My dad was born at home too. Like they weren't born. He wasn't born in a hospital. He was born at home.
Is his birth time recorded? If I ever have a child, the moment that it's out, I'm checking my watch. Because I also think about like, how long does it take someone to record what time you were born? You know, like I was born at 10:01 p.m., but was that when I actually was born, or was that when the doctor wrote it down?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think about that a lot too,
Oh,
for better or for worse.
because even 1 or 2 minutes.
It can make a difference, yeah, depending on where the sign is on the horizon.
So when did they start, does anybody know when they started recording actual times? And why then, if nobody used to do it, why suddenly did it become? Oh, right,
Oh, that makes sense. It's
yeah.
kind of a boring answer, but you're probably right.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
more accurate record keeping. Yeah. Thank goodness they did, right?
I know, because, yeah.
I'm sure people have been keeping track of that for a long time. Because astrology's been around for a long time.
A few decades at least.
Centuries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how were they, so they weren't able to determine all of this way back then?
No, people had charts printed out. Astrology was not as easy as it is now. Because anybody here can just go on a website and look up that information now. You punch in a few numbers and they can calculate your chart for you. But back in the day, people had to print them out and kind of track all of the data down. So that would have been a labor of love for sure.
Yeah, and if they didn't know the time, would they just sort of guess, or did they just sort of work around that?
Yeah, I don't know.
So that is sort of an incomplete history of who, yeah, interesting.
Any other questions?
So what's your next project?
I don't have one. But this also was not ever intentional, so maybe something will flow. I just graduated from my program on Sunday, so now I have free time again. So
Well, congratulations.
thank you.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe there will be something else.
So are you now a doctor of some sort?
No, I have a master's degree now. Never will I go back for a PhD.
Never say
I am
never.
done with school forever at this point, yeah.
Is it the science field? Or?
No, it's a master's in marriage and family therapy. Yeah. So, counseling.
Oh, so maybe we'll write a book about that someday.
Maybe. Yeah, I like I said, I'm gonna have a lot more free time. Maybe I'll have to like draw inspiration from another one of my favorite
I
childhood
think
books.
that's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, here's another fortune for us. You'll be beautiful, but only briefly.
Sorry.
That's great.
27.
And that was for little kids?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's for children.
If you like that humor,
Uh-huh.
download the app, Grumpy Cat for your weather.
Oh,
for your
I didn't know
weather?
the
Yeah.
Grumpy Cat had an app.
That's
Yeah,
how it all-
Grumpy Cat has an app
Oh, for weather.
for weather.
So it probably says like, oh, it's so gross outside today kind of thing.
I'll tell you.
He was picking on me the other day.
Today it says, what a beautiful day. Now let's go back inside.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like this. That sounds fun.
That's great.
much subjectivity is there in interpreting the chart?
That is a really good question. I would say there's a decent amount. People are pretty, I would say there's like a gold standard for every sign. There's a gold standard for every planet and a gold standard for every house of those 12 in the chart. And then the way you put them together can be dependent on the person reading the chart.
Sure.
So I read charts based off of people's charts I've read that I know personally too, because I can pick up on themes. So I'm trying to think of an example. So for example, the 12th house is a house of isolation. And something you can see in the 12th house is like people that might be more inclined to go religious lifestyle, like going into a convent and living more secluded like that. And then there's the flip side of that where people that are like involuntarily incarcerated or put away from society, essentially, is like the two very broad ends of the 12th house. So in my time reading charts, I've been able to see certain planets in that house specifically where it's like, okay, this might indicate some form of isolation on that spectrum. Like a more favorable kind of isolation where it's voluntary versus an isolation that is involuntary. And so there is that subjectivity in I'm taking what I know about other people when I look at a chart to kind of pick up on a thread. But in general, everybody's going to agree about what a sign's main themes are or what a house's main themes are.
You know, you're too young to remember this, but when Reagan was president and Nancy Reagan had her personal astrologer and
Really?
she got so much flack because back then it wasn't like an more accepted than it, but she had got so much flack and it was like this big scandal, like what's an astrologer doing in the White House? And it was like so amazing when you think back to that and how far we've come, that it's way more accepted
Yeah.
than it was that, but
That was the most scandalous thing she ever did.
oh. I'm not saying I liked it, but it was so, I remember that, and it was like, you know,
It was Joan Dixon, right? That was
I
the
think so,
astrology.
yeah, and it was just like, I mean, there's headline news.
Although to be fair, I feel like still today there would be flack, right? Like astrology is more popular now, but there's still so much stigma around it. Like it is a woman's hobby. Like that stigma is still very popular.
Oh.
So I think it would still get flack today,
Still,
but maybe not from certain generations of people.
Right. Do you think people like the younger, like you guys younger, you're more accepting of and embrace it more than people?
In my experience, yes. I mean, it's very common for people that I meet to know their big three off the top of their head.
Yeah.
That's how I got into astrology. Was somebody asked me my big three, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. Like that's what sparked me to study out more about it.
Yeah.
So I would say yes, but with the caveat that I am a young woman who mainly socializes with other young women. So I do think it's more popular, but I might just be like that minority in that category of people that are into it.
I think it's way more, I mean, just from what I've seen in all my years, it is more mainstream now,
Mhm.
but not, like you're saying, still not where we would like it to, where it could be, it's still not accepted in a lot of circles,
Yeah.
but way back when it was like new or something.
Mhm. And I'm sure still is to some people. I'm shocked that my mom has had so much success peddling it in rural Minnesota.
I
Like,
know, isn't that
I can't
great?
believe that
I
people
love
in rural
that.
Minnesota are like, that sounds great, sign me up.
Yeah.
But they are. So I think it's a lot more, kind of like I was saying in the introduction, people are curious about it if nothing else.
Yeah.
There are people that say absolutely that's garbage, and yet they still are curious about it for the most part. So I do think that makes it more popular now versus completely shutting off conversation.
Which town in rural Minnesota?
I am from Albert Lee.
It's not a small town.
It feels small when you live in the Twin Cities.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah.
Now, have you thought about going back and doing readings for all the
God, no. No. No, I love living in the city. I will happily stay up here.
Yeah.
You want me to set you up down there?
No.
I got you. We can go library.
My mom's already tried, trust me.
Okay.
Any other questions? Comments?
I will throw this up, which is the basis for my question about subject Kim.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was a big believer, and she also lived in Casey. And
Oh,
apparently, through the Casey Institute, you could order a chart.
Mm-hmm.
She ordered a chart for the four of us. And, you know, I was raised to think it was pretty much a lot. But then, lo and behold, by a computer, I could pick up, oh yeah, this must be Dad's, this must be my brother. And that kind of made me, well, I didn't think it was a lot of food.
Yeah.
I didn't get to the point where, oh, this is gonna determine my life, but
Mm-hmm.
it was like, that was just too spot on.
Yep. And I think a lot of people that are into astrology, myself included, that's where it starts. Because I don't think any of us naturally are like, oh yeah, I believe in this 100%. We're all skeptical, as we should be. We're logical, critical thinkers. But then you start to pick apart your own chart, and suddenly it starts to make a little too much sense. And that's where it started for me. It's like, oh, this explains why I cry when I watch happy commercials on TV. It's my Pisces moon. So I think that, yeah, and that's why I love hearing from people that they connected with something here, because I hope that it means they'll keep reading and researching their own chart.
Yeah, it's a.
Wait, can I ask one more question?
Yep.
What do you think about,
Yeah,
not just
exactly, well, they're
us,
not.
like,
Right, if they were.
because, are you a fear on the cusp?
Yeah.
And I am, and so like I will read Aquarius, Pisces, and if I like Pisces better, I go with that for my.
Do you? So astrologers in general think that the cusp is hooey. I mean, you're born at the time that you're born. There isn't really like you're a cusper and that has an influence. I would be curious if you have Pisces somewhere else in your chart and that's why you resonate with it. It might not be like because you're on the cusp. It might be because you have a Pisces moon or something else like that. Or planets in your 12th house. There could be a lot of things that explain that connection instead of the cusp.
Okay,
Yeah.
so do you put much stock in it?
No, I don't read cusping.
Oh. And I also like some of the Taurus stuff too, so I'm gonna start.
I mean, you can just pick and choose. Do you know your big three? Oh. What did have you do your chart? Do you know your birthday?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to, it's recorded, so it's written down, but I know it was like in, like.
We're gonna have to do your birth chart to find out what your big ones are.
There's gotta be some Taurus and Pisces in there somewhere.
That'd be so funny if it was your big three. That would be incredible.
So is this a good book to read if you don't know anything?
Yes, so I wrote it for beginners. The intro covers like the basic groundwork, and then every chapter has basic explanation of the signs. So those 12 sections I was talking about earlier, the houses, I don't go into them in this book. So if I ever write a second one, that's probably what it would be about. This is just signs and planets, because I feel like when you're getting started, that is more than enough to chew on before you can get really overwhelmed really quickly. So yeah, that was the goal. Well, thank you everyone.